It was a bustling afternoon at Dallas Love Field Airport. The loudspeaker crackled with a final boarding call, blending into the symphony of rolling suitcases, hurried footsteps, and distant chatter. Near gate C-12, a tall, composed Barron Trump sat quietly, his gaze fixed on his phone. Dressed casually in a hoodie and sneakers, he exuded a calm detachment, seemingly unnoticed amidst the crowd. Yet, behind this unassuming demeanor, the stage was set for a moment that would soon erupt into chaos. A gate agent, sharp-eyed and brisk, approached him, suspicion etched into his expression. "Excuse me, young man," the agent began, his tone cutting through the ambient noise. "Are you sure you're in the right boarding group?" Barron looked up, startled but composed, responding politely, "Yes, I have a first-class ticket." But his calm explanation wasn't enough. The agent scrutinized him further, requesting his ticket, and what should have been a routine interaction quickly drew the attention of nearby passengers. Whispers rippled through the crowd, some pulling out their phones to record as the tension escalated. What began as a simple flight was spiraling into a spectacle no one could have anticipated. Yet, the storm truly began brewing when the words reached one person, his mother, Melania Trump. And when she arrived, the scene would shift in a way no one could have predicted. The incident began innocently enough, but it didn't take long for the atmosphere at Gate C-12 to shift. Barron Trump, sitting quietly with his phone in hand, was approached by a gate agent whose sharp tone immediately drew attention. "Excuse me, young man," the agent said, his voice tinged with suspicion. "Are you sure you're in the right boarding group?" Barron, calm but slightly taken aback, met his gaze and replied, "Yes, I have a first-class ticket." He handed over his boarding pass without hesitation, his politeness a reflection of his upbringing. But instead of resolving the matter, the agent's demeanor grew more accusatory. He scrutinized the ticket, his expression hardening. Passengers nearby began to take notice, their whispers filling the air. "What's going on?" someone muttered, while others discreetly raised their phones to record the unfolding scene. Moments later, the agent returned with a supervisor in tow. The supervisor, equally stern, insisted on further verification. "We'll need to check your identity," he said curtly, gesturing for Barron to step aside. Barron, though visibly frustrated, complied without protest. He moved to the side, feeling the weight of countless stares and murmurs growing louder around him. Then, as if to pour fuel on the fire, airport security arrived, their presence making the situation even more dramatic. Phones flashed, whispers turned into outright speculation, and the entire terminal seemed to be drawn to the scene. The security officers escorted Barron to a small, sterile room, their measured steps followed by the curious gazes of onlookers. Though clearly irritated, Barron kept his composure, his quiet dignity standing in stark contrast to the chaos around him. Yet, as the whispers and stares continued to grow, one question hung in the air. Why was this happening? The tension was palpable, and the answers were nowhere in sight. In the back seat of a sleek black SUV weaving through Dallas traffic, Melania Trump sat poised, scrolling through her phone as notifications buzzed relentlessly. She had planned a quiet trip to surprise her son Barron after his flight, but the flurry of messages quickly changed everything. Her serene expression shifted as she opened a text. "Something's going on with Barron at the airport." Attached was a short clip. Grainy footage of Barron surrounded by security, being led away from the gate. Melania replayed the video twice, her brow furrowing deeper with each pass. She scanned social media, finding more clips and commentary. Passengers' voices murmured in the background of the videos. "Isn't that Barron Trump? What's going on?" Her jaw tightened, her calm demeanor masking a storm brewing within. "Driver, hurry," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. The SUV accelerated, the driver weaving skillfully through traffic as Melania's fingers flew across her phone, gathering every detail she could. As the vehicle sped toward the airport, Melania's focus remained razor-sharp. Her outward composure didn't betray the determination building inside her. Watching the viral clips of her son being unfairly scrutinized, her resolve hardened. This wasn't just about Barron. It was about standing up for what was right. Her calm exterior masked a steely determination, and everyone at that airport was about to feel its full weight. Barron sat in the cold, sterile room, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glare on the plain walls. The small table in front of him felt more like a barrier than a piece of furniture. He leaned back slightly, his long fingers tapping a slow rhythm against the tabletop, the only sound breaking the heavy silence. Across from him, two officers flipped through his passport, their hushed tones and sideways glances hinting at an unspoken bias that hung thick in the air. Their questions were routine on the surface, but the undercurrent was unmistakable. Why were you in the priority boarding section? Can you explain your travel itinerary again? Barron answered each query calmly, his voice steady despite the irritation simmering beneath his composed exterior. He wasn't new to being singled out. It came with the territory of his last name. But today felt different. The scrutiny was sharper, the questions more pointed, and the reasoning less clear. As the minutes dragged on, Barron began to question the real motive behind this ordeal. His patience thinned, but his resolve held firm. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him crack. He shifted slightly, straightening his posture and locking eyes with the officers, silently challenging their line of questioning. But what Barron didn't know was that his mother was already weaving through Dallas traffic, her calm exterior masking a storm of determination. She was on her way, and she wasn't coming quietly. The moment she walked through those airport doors, the balance of power in this situation was about to shift dramatically. The airport terminal buzzed with activity, but the moment Melania Trump entered, the energy shifted. Her poised stride and commanding presence drew every eye in the room. Passengers instinctively parted as she walked, their whispers hushed but filled with recognition. Phones discreetly captured her every move as she made her way toward the area where Barron was being held. She didn't need to announce herself. Her aura did that for her. Reaching the holding room, she stopped at the door, her sharp heels clicking against the polished floor. Inside, the officers froze mid-conversation, their expressions a mix of surprise and apprehension. Melania's gaze swept across the room, her piercing eyes landing on the supervisor. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her voice calm but carrying an edge of steel that commanded immediate attention. The supervisor, visibly flustered, stammered, "Mrs. Trump, we're just following protocol." "Protocol?" she interrupted, her tone slicing through his excuse. Her brow arched slightly as she stepped further into the room, her presence filling the space. "Or is this about his last name?" The words hung in the air like a challenge, daring anyone to contradict her. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, clearly caught off guard. The supervisor fumbled for words, but Melania wasn't interested in their justifications. She tilted her head, her voice firm but restrained. "You've detained my son without cause, humiliated him in front of dozens of passengers, and now you're hiding behind procedures? This is unacceptable." Her words cut through the room, leaving the staff scrambling for answers. But Melania wasn't finished. Her calm fury made one thing clear. This wasn't just about her son. It was about holding them accountable for actions that went beyond protocol, actions rooted in bias. She was determined to set the record straight, and she wouldn't leave until justice was served. Melania stood tall and unwavering, her voice steady but commanding as she addressed the staff. "If you've humiliated my son in public, then your apology will be made in public as well." Her words left no room for debate, and the supervisor, visibly uneasy, had no choice but to comply. She led the way back to the bustling gate area, her presence drawing every eye as passengers murmured and pulled out their phones to record what was about to unfold. The supervisor stepped forward, clearing his throat nervously. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice trembling slightly, I'd like to apologize for a misunderstanding that occurred earlier today. One of our passengers, Mr. Barron Trump, was subjected to unnecessary scrutiny and actions that were entirely inappropriate. We deeply regret any inconvenience or embarrassment caused. As murmurs rippled through the crowd, Melania stepped forward, her gaze sweeping across the sea of faces. Her voice was calm but filled with conviction. "Thank you for your words," she said, her tone measured yet firm. "But this isn't just about my son. This is about the principle of respect and fairness. No one, regardless of their name or status, should ever be treated unfairly or made to feel small." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the crowd. Respect isn't something we earn through wealth or fame. It's a right we all share as human beings. Today, my son experienced something that no one should have to endure. Let this be a reminder to all of us to act with kindness, to judge less, and to always remember the humanity in others. The terminal erupted into applause, passengers standing in solidarity, their claps echoing through the space. Some nodded in agreement, others recorded the moment, visibly moved by her words. Melania's message transcended the moment, striking a chord with everyone present. It wasn't just about Barron anymore. It was about a call for fairness and dignity that resonated far beyond the airport walls. In the quiet of the airport lounge, the adrenaline of the moment had finally settled. Barron sat across from his mother, his hands clasped together as he stared out the window. "I've dealt with things like this before," he said softly, breaking the silence. "But never so public." His voice carried the weight of frustration and resignation. Melania leaned forward, her gaze steady and reassuring. "You handled yourself well, Barron," she said, her tone firm yet comforting. "But no one should have to get used to unfair treatment, especially not because of their name." As they waited for their next flight, Melania pulled out her phone, her fingers moving swiftly across the screen. Moments later, a tweet appeared on her profile. "Today, my son experienced something no one should face: being judged before being understood. Let this serve as a reminder. Respect and fairness are not privileges, but rights we all share. Let's strive to do better." The post went viral within hours, igniting a global conversation about accountability, bias, and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. The ripple effects were immediate. The airline, facing public scrutiny, issued a formal apology and announced plans for comprehensive staff training to ensure incidents like this would not happen again. News outlets picked up the story, with headlines highlighting Melania's calm yet powerful handling of the situation. For Barron, the day had been a storm of emotions, but it ended with a quiet realization. Sometimes, standing up for what's right doesn't just make an impact in the moment. It creates ripples that can inspire change far beyond what anyone imagined. The incident quickly transcended the airport, becoming a global conversation. Videos of Melania's commanding speech and the public apology trended on social media, sparking widespread discussions about bias, fairness, and the importance of treating everyone with dignity, no matter their status or appearance. Hashtags like "respect is a right" and kindness in action flooded timelines, with people sharing their own stories of unfair treatment and pledging to do better. Melania's words echoed far beyond the terminal. Moments like these remind us that respect is not a privilege but a right. Let this be a lesson to all of us to pause, think, and treat others with dignity. Her powerful statement resonated deeply, urging people to reflect on their actions and the world around them. As the story concluded, viewers were left with a challenge. What will you do today to ensure fairness and respect in your community? Share this story, start a conversation, and let's make a difference, one act of kindness at a time. In that moment, the message was clear. Change begins with each of us.